This is Tony San Lucas from San Lucas Real Estate Consultant at Keller Williams. As we promised you in the previous video, we're going to be bringing you some informative information about different process of home buying, specializing in first-time home buying. Today we have here our partner,
Rodrigues,
and we want to introduce you one of our lender partners, Rob Zuckerman from North Point Bank. Mr. Zuckerman will be assisting us in this video, giving us important information about the process. Rob, what can you tell us about yourself?
well, thanks for asking. Thanks for inviting me today. So I've been lending 29 years, helping first-time home buyers, and former background was in engineering, and I use those skills to provide a high-tech, high-touch way of helping first-time home buyers through the process.
Yeah. Well, we have in the past worked together in
Yes.
many files, and I know that your company is very proactive when it comes to rates and making sure that the file close on a timely manner. Okay, I'm sure that my viewer has a lot of information about first loan, different type of loan that we have available out there for first home buyer. What can you tell us about?
Sure. So the most common three loans that are provided for first-time home buyers would be either the VA program, that's for veterans of the armed services of the United States. You have the FHA program, Federal Housing Administration, and you have conventional loans, which are underwritten by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac guidelines.
And how would you determine which type of loan can a customer qualify for? What's your criteria? How do you determine that?
Oh, great question. So what we do is we start out with a pre-approval process, and we ask a lot of questions, and we go through something called the 5 C's of a loan that the underwriter will look at. And based upon that interview process, a review of the information and documentation, we can then suggest to the buyer which is the best program for them.
What about credit score? I know there is a lot of myth out there as far as what is required to qualify for a loan, and we hear 580, 590, 600, 700.
Sure.
What can you tell us? I mean, you are the expert. What can you tell us about the credit score?
So I had mentioned 5 C's, and C, the credit is one of those C's, and it's a very important factor in reviewing somebody's application. So there's something in the industry called the golden rule of banking, and it says that the bank has the gold, they make the rules. So our bank requires a 620 credit score in order to provide financing for under the FHA loan program. Other banks might have a lower criteria. Sometimes if they have a lower credit score, it means a bigger down payment. Our FHA program requires 3.5% to put down, which is one of the advantages of the FHA loan. It's only 3.5% to put down. So there are other credit criteria based upon the loan program.
All right. When it comes to work history, again, those are one of the many questions that people have. We have interviewed hundreds of people last year, and a lot of them walk into this office thinking that they can't qualify because they just started a job. They move from one job to another, and when we put them through the lending process, they are surprised that they do qualify.
Sure.
What can you tell us? What are those specific criteria in order to qualify for work?
Sure, great question. So another C in the 5 C's is capacity, and that has to do with somebody's ability to show enough income to come in to cover the expenses based upon what's known as a debt ratio. And there are so many, we couldn't cover all the different ways that somebody would qualify for something, but I'll give you a couple of the common myths where we're able to qualify somebody where they wouldn't think they would normally qualify. So for example, if you're just graduating school, if you're a college graduate and you start a job, you'll qualify in the first day. You could literally go out there and get qualified to purchase a home with having 1 day of work experience as long as you were in school. And the reason is because we consider schooling as work experience for the loan application.
Okay.
Yeah. A lot of people think they have to be on a job, so we do need 2 years history, whether it be from schooling or from working.
So it would be combined, like if you, just like you're saying, you just started a job 2 months ago,
Yes.
and you have been 2 years at college? It has to be college, right?
Well, a great question. It doesn't have to be college. College is probably the most common example. But let's say you have, we deal with a lot of nurses that are looking to buy their first home. And maybe they were in the medical field, but they weren't a registered nurse, so they didn't have a degree in what it is they're doing, and now they have a promotion. So sometimes they're in the medical field, they're working, they take a year or two off to go to nursing school, they graduate from the nursing program, now they have more income coming in, so that would be a similar situation. They might be much older, they could be in their 30s or their 40s buying their first home and having been a nurse. So it could be somebody who went to college, got a job, then went into medical field, then went for the nursing program, and then went out for a professional advancement. So if we could show that they were, let's say, working, then medical school or nursing school, and then working, that's a 2-year history. So it doesn't have to be college as like an undergrad.
Right. I got you. So that's very good information. Thank you. What about, again, I'm throwing you all of these questions. I'm sorry.
I've got
these are the common question that people come into this office with, and bring it over to us, when it comes to the legal status, a lot of people feel that if they have a work permit, they won't qualify for a loan.
Yes.
And I'm finding out that again is a misconception out there. Could you give them some information about?
Sure. So our bank, again, different banks have different criteria. Our bank requires that somebody be here working and residing here legally. So that would mean that they'd have to have proper work permits. Sometimes we have a situation where somebody was here, it could be on TPS, which is a temporary status, let's say from a certain country, and if they could show a history of having that renewed, then we could view that. But if somebody was undocumented, where they don't have valid citizenship or valid residency, or they're not legally permitted to work here, our bank wouldn't be able to assist them. They just have to, as long as they're here with legitimacy in terms of working and residency authorization, we'd be able to assist them.
And that is a policy or rule in your bank. Because I hear that there are other banks, maybe not in Florida where we are, but in California and Texas, that they do loan with IT number.
Yes.
Am I correct?
Yeah, you are correct. There are other programs. It's just that our bank doesn't offer all the programs.
Okay, great. And how much does a customer really need to buy a property? When it comes to the money that is coming out of their pocket. I know there is a down payment. What else? What other costs can the customer expect?
Okay, so that goes to another C in the equation, is the cash. So how much money is available for the purchase of the home? So the down payment on a conventional loan is 3% is a requirement for a first-time home buyer. FHA is 3.5% of the purchase price. In addition to that, there are settlement charges. Settlement charges are made up of closing costs. These are like one-time fees. You would have bank fees, title company fees, the government has certain fees, recording fees, and it could add up to a lot of money. However, there are ways that the bank or the seller can contribute towards those fees. So one example would be, we have something called a lender credit, where for a slightly higher rate of interest, then we could give money towards the buyer's closing costs, and the seller can give what's known as a seller contribution, where in exchange for a slightly higher sales price, they can give money back towards the buyer for doing that. There are also gifts that are allowed. So you can get a gift from a relative in order for the down payment of the closing costs as well. So if subject to I know that your team has great negotiation skills with the sellers, you can often work something out, and our pricing is such that we can also contribute as well, but they would need that 3 or the 3.5%. And that money could be gifted as well, so they don't actually need their own funds.
Right. What is the time frame that you can close a loan, like a deal, ideally, like 30, 40, 60 days?
Sure, so most of our transactions do close within the 30 days from the time of application. And one of the things that we promote a lot is something called True Approve, where what we'll do is, with your assistance and your customer's assistance, we'll put a loan package together. We'll send it into the underwriter to get a formal commitment letter, and this way they can go shopping with greater confidence. It helps them win over deals that would otherwise not be won over by, let's say, a mortgage company doesn't offer that option, because not only has the loan officer pre-approved the person, but the underwriter has formally underwritten that person. And I actually got one that came back this morning. It was subject to a contract, title, appraisal, and insurance. So that speeds up the process. So in that case, you could close in 2 weeks' time. But 30 days is the typical time for our bank to close a loan.
No? Good, thank you. Thank you very much. You have any questions?
No, I guess one more thing before we leave. Do you also do anything with new constructions, loans, anything like that?
Sure. So we certainly offer financing for new construction if they're buying from a developer or a builder that's putting up a community. You can certainly assist them with that. We also offer construction loans. So with inventory being tight, some people just, hey, they have a piece of land that they already own, or they'd like to purchase a piece of land and have their own home built. And building might not be as expensive as some people think, so we could offer a construction loan. We could offer them a land loan so they could acquire the property now, and they could build at a future time. Or we can offer them a construction loan where they could buy the land and finance the construction as well.
Okay, perfect, awesome. One of the things that normally I guess people are afraid of, since the market is pretty high at the moment and it's very competitive, when it comes to getting pre-qualified, they want to sell their property and buy another one. Would the process be contingent on a way of selling this property first in order to get this one? Because they don't want to sell something and not be able to get anything.
Right.
So what would be the best scenario for them to process this
For qualification.
Yeah, so we have some really interesting solutions for that. We have something, it's not technically a bridge loan, but a bridge loan is a way to get you from point A to point B, and we can give them temporary financing there on their home that they're selling, and then when they sell that home, they could use that equity to purchase the new home with. Also, if you're under contract with your current home to buy a new home, we don't count that debt. So it has to do with whether the person qualifies for it. If they should qualify for carrying both houses at the same time, well, that makes it a lot easier. But some people need the equity from their current home, and we have a way to free up that equity they could use from their current home in order to buy the new home. And then when they sell their current home, they could then take that, well, obviously they'll pay off that loan, and then sometimes they could have extra equity that they could put down on the home that they just bought, so we could lower their payment, do something called a recast. So we have lots of options in order to do that. I know that you guys are very creative in putting that together.
On that particular scenario that you mentioned, the customer's property needs to be under contract. Or it could just, in a situation, we have a listing right at this moment, and the customer wants to get pre-qualified for the mortgage.
If their house is listed and not under contract, then they need to qualify carrying both homes.
Okay.
Yeah. If it's under contract, then there's a probability that we don't have to count that payment, so they could sell that current home after they've purchased the new home.
Gotcha, thank you. And one more, last question that I have for you, okay? Not every single customer that walk into the stores, a lot of the time, they don't have all the funds for the purchase of the house.
Yes.
And last year, I worked with you guys on the $8,000 program that you guys were generous enough to mention to us, and we were able to get at least 2 or 3 customers in that program because we cashed them at the end of the time.
Yes.
All right. Talk to us about that program, because I think that would be something that people out there might be interested in taking advantage of it.
Well, thanks for bringing that up and reminding me about that program. It's a great program. North Point Bank is affiliated with the Federal Home Loan Bank of Indianapolis, and they're generous enough to give a grant of millions of dollars each year. The money usually comes out about May and allows for $8,000 towards the purchase of a home by a first-time home buyer. And that's a pure gift. It's not a loan, does not have to be paid back. And you could use that money towards your down payment, towards your closing costs. And it's coming up in May, so now's a great time. We're recording this now at the end of January. So we'd like to try to get people in the hopper, if you will, so they could get first dibs on that money, and you could create some great opportunity where they otherwise wouldn't be able to afford a home. It's an $8,000 grant program.
So what we're going to do is I'm going to bring you back in another week, and I want to go more in depth into that program.
Sure.
give the customer more information where they can take that information and take advantage of it. Okay, so thank you for coming. It has been a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you, Rob.
A lot of good information for our viewers out there. If you want to reach Rob Zuckerman at North Point Bank, you can call this office.
Just have them call you, and this way you can, because you can help them and put them in touch with me then.
So we will leave our phone numbers in the videos, and call us and we will get you in touch with Rob. Great guy to work with. You will be pleased with his service and with the bank, so we guarantee it. Thank you for joining, and we'll see you on our next video.
Don't forget, guys, don't hit that like button, comment below, subscribe to our channel, and stay tuned for our future videos. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.